Hi there, Cassie here, and today we're going to be going over Giraffe and Annika, specifically with regards to the plotline. So if you're looking to not have any spoilers, please go ahead and skip this video. But if you are interested to see some of the reasons why I was conflicted on this game, go ahead and stick around. I'm going to start by catching you guys up on the storyline because the conflicting parts don't really start till the very end of the game. So I'm going to catch you up on how you get to the end, and then we're going to go over the ending with Alex. So to start, you wake up as this little girl that doesn't have any memory except for your name. And you happen to meet Giraffe, who does know who you are, but you don't really question him. He just kind of brushes off the fact that you don't remember him, and it's right away like, all right, I got this mission for you. You got to join in. You're the only one that can do this. And you just kind of go along with it. He basically tells you you are a cat person and you are going to be the one that can get all 3 gems, and he needs you to do this for him. Doesn't tell you why. It's just like, all right, let's go with it. So you agree for unknown reasons, but you do agree. And to start off with, you go into the forest dungeon, and after you go through the dungeon, you eventually get the gemstone, but it's taken away from you from the main villain of the game, which is Lily. And Lily, of course, always makes you battle her in a dance battle, because what would be more appropriate than a dance battle? But you go for it, and after you have this and you finally beat her, then you have these little memory scenes. And I will say that these little memory scenes are beautifully drawn and they're really interesting. So you can see there's like a little bird cage, and when you're actually in the game, you have this house called Lisa's house, and she has a little bird cage. So you start thinking like, okay, we're having little flashbacks to little Lisa. We don't know our relation to her. We just know that Giraffe knows her somehow, and Giraffe appears to be older. Anyway, right away, he sets you on to the next mission, where you have to go to the ocean dungeon after you go through the whole dungeon. Then, of course, you have to fight Lily, and this time she has a crab with her. Lily says she's a mermaid at this point. She kind of seems to not really know her identity. Obviously, in the first scene, she looks more like a witch, and then she says she's a mermaid. It's just a part of her quirks, and she actually seems to know you as well and is annoyed that you don't know her. So that is another thing that you kind of bring up to Giraffe, and Giraffe's just like, whatever, it's fine, just get the gems. Finally, you go and get the red gem in the fire dungeon, and once again Lily is there, but this time she's a cowboy. These sort of plot points, I don't mind that much. I find them really funny. I don't know why they chose that route, but you know what? It's amusing, so why not? And you finally have one of your last cutscenes of your old life, and you see Giraffe kind of has this white hair. You see Lily, maybe these people are your parents. You really don't know what relation they have to you if you're just like a random homeless child. And you don't ask Giraffe anything. Like, whenever you wake up, it's like you don't remember those memories at all. Anyway, you take the gems to Giraffe and you're like, here you go, what do we do next? And he's like, well, the guy that sent you to the fire dungeon, how about we go and talk to him? And then you pass through this area that has a bunch of these glowing areas, and he's like, oh, it matches with the gemstones, like maybe that's significant. Obviously Giraffe has like no plans, or has all the plans. It's one or the other. At this point in the game, I was really wondering, is he evil? But you don't know. And anyway, you go to Hilfred, who's the guy that sent you to the fire dungeon, and he also had made this statue, and it's like, hey, I needed a gem for the statue. Can we use the gems that you got? And you kind of look at Giraffe and go like, should we do that? And he's like, yeah, why not? Let's give it a go. That, of course, sets you on a new mission. You see this, like, image in the ground, and Giraffe's like, oh, man, this means that you have to do this final piece. It's going to unlock some sort of secret cat lady story thing. You have the fragments. You're going to be able to do this. You just have to find out what time you have to do the dance, what dress material you need, and then you need to actually learn how to dance. So you end up meeting these side characters, Thomas and Mary, and you kind of set them up a little bit. Mary gives you the dress, Thomas tells you what time, and then you learn the dance from somebody else. And so you finally go about and do the dance. At this point, you have 3 powers. So you have, from the first dungeon, you learned how to jump high. From the second dungeon, you learned how to breathe underwater. And in the last dungeon, you learned how to run really fast. So you have all these new skill sets, which are cool. And then you do the dance, and then this happens. And you pass out again. Like, Annika passes out a lot in this game. Like, basically after every dungeon, she wakes up after having passed out. And of course, she wakes up in this very ethereal, heaven-like space. I will say that this particular place in the game is pretty cool. They do it well. You finally go all the way through the dungeon, and you're back at Lisa's house. And you're just kind of walking through her house, but again, of course, there's holes in the floor. It's longer than normal. Everything looks not quite right. And you walk up to Lily, because of course Lily's there. And you approach her, and in a moment, you end up seeing this kind of older face. And you're like, who are you? Are you really Lily? Or are you somebody else again? And it's not really clear, but of course Lily attacks you, because that's what a good villain does. And you finally defeat her. And then you get a few more answers, but not a whole lot. So, she's your grandmother, which is cool, and she's reading you this storybook. You don't know if you're living in the storybook, you don't know why you're having memories like this, and Giraffe gave you the book. Again, you don't know what relation Giraffe is to you, but there's kind of a hinting that maybe Giraffe is dead, and then you wake up. You wake up and all of the people are around you. You're collapsed on the floor, and you're just kind of wondering, where's Giraffe at? And this is where I'm going to stop it for now. I'm going to go grab Alex, and we're going to talk about the storyline from here, because it only gets more crazy from here, not less crazy. Alrighty, so we have Alex joining us. He's my brother. We played through the game together.
Yes, we did. And we have many complaints.
We mostly only have complaints at the end of the story.
Yes.
So in this particular part of the story, so after Annika has woken up, realizes where Giraffe has gone, Giraffe and Lisa, who she now knows is her grandmother.
Yes.
She still doesn't know how Giraffe is related to Lisa at this point.
But we later find out that Giraffe is actually Lisa's husband.
Therefore, Annika's grandfather.
Yes. And we also learned that Giraffe died at sea sometime after Annika was born. And that Lisa's first instinct when she sees Giraffe after him being dead for so long is to attack him and tie him to a post.
Yeah, she has some anger issues. She has some serious anger issues.
Yeah, Grandma might need to go to the home.
Yeah, therapy or something. But in any case, so like Annika meets up with Lisa, and from her perspective, she just knows that Lisa continually attacks her.
Yep.
And now has kidnapped Giraffe.
Yep.
and is mad at her grandmother for being a jerk.
Yep.
Understandably.
Yeah, oh, and yes, I don't understand at all. What are you even saying? That's exactly the
Which
point.
are all of these questions, like, earlier on, she should have been asking Giraffe, like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
But she does ask questions to her grandmother, which I am happy about. That was one of my main complaints about the rest of the story, is that Annika wouldn't ask a question about a goddamn thing.
Yeah, no, as far as we knew, we originally thought for a while that Giraffe was some sort of evil demonic spirit that was trying to gain all the powers of the world.
I couldn't tell if Giraffe was supposed to be evil, a love interest, or what. When we got more of the flashbacks, then it was like, okay, he's something to us.
Yep.
And he's older than us, but we don't know what.
Yeah, and the only way you can gain the secrets, by the way, because there are like little secrets about Giraffe. Like, for example, we find a ring out in the ocean at some point after you collect all of the mystery fragments. And that somehow you give that back to Giraffe, and he goes, "Oh, that's mine."
And you realize he's married at that point. But anyway, yeah. So you do get little hints here and there. They're very good at little hints of this, but some of this is odd. So anyway, you beat up your grandmother for like the fourth or fifth time. Yeah, you've fought her a lot.
Yes, and you see, this is where canonically the story should just end.
Yeah.
Like,
so she goes, perhaps I'll live a little longer.
Yeah.
And so she's like, all right, Annika, you beating me up has given me a reason to live.
Yeah, you've made me reflect on my action. I've been a real asshole.
And then, but it doesn't end there.
So the world starts falling apart, and the reason the world's falling apart
is Lisa's memories are starting to be released. So I guess she's remembering things.
No, it's because she's waking up. This is supposedly a dream world. So this is her dream falling apart as she wakes up. And it makes no sense.
What doesn't make sense is what is Annika supposed to have been sharing this dream with her?
Yeah.
Maybe. But later on, like Annika, I mean, after having this dream of my grandmother, I would be deeply disturbed about my grandmother.
Yeah.
And Annika, when she wakes up, has no reaction. But in any case, this is one of the key scenes. So Giraffe, once again, is always telling you what to do. He's like, you need to go into this light. The cat's all down for it. So you go into the light, which is a cool scene. And you're like, all right, Giraffe, get your butt in gear. And of course, he's like, no, I can't go.
Yeah.
And this scene is it's pretty and it's sentimental, and you have to let Giraffe go.
Exactly. Which is a very good sentiment to keep based on what I theorize is happening here. But I'll get to that in a moment.
So, anyway, she agrees to leave Giraffe behind. At this point, again, she doesn't know her relation to Giraffe. So she's just like, all right, I know that he's probably maybe dead.
Yeah.
And I certainly can't take him out of this dream. So I'm just going to leave this dream.
Yeah.
And then you wake up to this.
Yeah. And in this perspective, you are Lisa and you're looking up and
at your
granddaughter is looking down on you. So that means that your granddaughter has woken up before you, right?
So if Annika was sharing this dream, she shouldn't have woken up before her grandmother. Yes,
because the grandmother left the dream first. Okay. But for some reason, she wakes up.
And she's certainly not acting like she shared this dream. Lisa's indicating that this was her dream, only her dream. But from her dream perspective, she beat up a small child 5 times and lost.
Exactly. Couldn't even beat a little kid.
Got really mad at her husband for being dead, and then agreed to live longer.
At this point, we also learned that the 2 people that we set up earlier in the story are our parents.
Yeah.
So we set our parents up to go to Bone Town.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many elements from that story, and it's kind of cool that they brought in as many characters as they could. And then at this point, you get the reveal, which is that grandmother is crazy.
Yeah. See, from this perspective, if you were to assume that you were actually living as the consciousness of the grandma and being Annika at the same time, you would expect that she would have learned to accept, to let go of Giraffe.
Yeah, to be okay with him being dead.
Exactly.
But grandmother doesn't learn any of this. No. Grandma is still very much in denial about Giraffe being dead. And is still, obviously from her dream, very upset that Giraffe is dead. Mm-hmm. And, like, Annika doesn't say a whole lot in this whole scene, but she certainly doesn't indicate to her parents that, you know, she had this whole dream with Grandma where Grandma was, you know, trying to kill her husband. Yeah. So,
and the way
this is the part we have trouble with.
Yeah, the way Annika is reacting, it's as if she doesn't have a darn clue about this at all. Like, she doesn't... She
wasn't a part of the dream.
Exactly.
So she wasn't a part of the dream. I guess we, the audience, played Annika. Yeah. And then Lisa just had that entire dream and learned nothing.
Exactly.
Which is the frustrating part. Like, she should have learned something.
Exactly.
Somebody should have learned something.
Tell us to go up to the light? Or why was that even a thing? To go up to the light if we weren't even Annika at this whole time?
Yeah, I don't know who we were supposed to be. Maybe we were the cat.
Honestly, the cat seems more likely at this point than anyone else.
So that's kind of where the story ends. Which is where, you know, obviously grandmother's still in denial. Yep. And the parents, you know, see this.
Yeah. And they completely accept that that
she's a little off.
Exactly. They're not even concerned about, like, oh, maybe we should take her back to the shore to live with us.
Or something. Mm-hmm. Or get her some help.
And also, the star fragments are right there.
Which is kind of cool. Again, it's not... There's so many things that I liked about this game. Like, there were the game mechanics I liked. I really liked these storyboard elements. Yeah. But that last little bit of Grandma being like, okay, I guess I'll live for you, but then still denying her husband's death just drives me crazy. Mm-hmm. We did 10 hours of this game and nobody learned anything.
Exactly. If they had just fixed that by either cutting off the story exactly when the grandmother faded away. If they cut off the story then, be a little bit iffy, but sure, that would work, narratively speaking. Or if, for example, you woke up and realized that you were playing Annika the whole time, that you dreamt that you were Annika and that you were fighting against yourself. You would be fighting against your unwillingness to change, unwillingness to let him go, and all that type of stuff.
You would have learned to say, like, okay, I've come to my peace. I'm not going to wait for my husband who's dead anymore.
Exactly. It would, and Giraffe leaving would have been a very symbolic gesture, because it would have been him helping you, him coming to you through the spirit world or something to try and help you move on with your life. It would have been a very beautiful and touching moment.
Instead, we got none of that.
We got cheated, more or less.
Yeah, so that's where we're going to leave things off. I hope you enjoyed it. Toodles.
Have a good one.